Hello and welcome to Bites, Bread, and Barbecue. Today I'd like to do a quick little tour of Fedora 36. I had been reading about Fedora that it provided the most pure GNOME 42 experience. I use Linux as my daily driver. As you can see from this desktop, I'm currently running Ubuntu, which also uses GNOME 42. However, it uses a customized version of it. Typically, this icon bar that you see at the bottom of my screen is on the left. That is really the only thing that I have changed. And if we go and look at the system settings on this particular Ubuntu computer, you can see that I am running an i7 computer with NVIDIA graphics. One of the main reasons that I use Ubuntu is the ease of installing the NVIDIA graphics, because I do some gaming and I want to be able to use my graphics card. The other thing that you'll see that's a little bit quirky here is the more modern Wayland system works on my computer, but for whatever reason, when my computer goes into energy saving mode and suspends, Wayland causes the entire screen to become snow in the suspended mode and it cannot be recovered. So I end up using X11. I've looked all over the internet for a solution to that problem and never been able to find one. So although you can see that this is running GNOME 42 version, typical GNOME fashion, if you push this, you can go to the launcher, switch between desktops, and the Windows key does the same and moves you back. However, we're going to take a look at Fedora. So let's take a peek at our Fedora. And we can see here, this is a clean install Fedora into a virtual machine, and this is the defaults that it comes up with. What I found very interesting about this is that it is a very clean interface. Your activities button goes to the bar and goes back. But the default screen, there are no icons here. You either have to hit the Windows key on the keyboard or the activities menu to actually get to your icons. So we touch the Windows key and we see that the defaults here are Firefox, Calendar, File System, and the Software Store. When you first install Fedora, it does ask for your network accounts like Google, Microsoft, etc., and it automatically implements those onto the calendar. Then there is no default mail reader out of the box, but it does retain all of your account information. Ubuntu does this very similarly, but did not import things onto my calendar for me. When we hit the key, the default applications that you can see, it looks very similar to what we saw in Ubuntu. There are two desktops present, although it's kind of lean on the number of software programs that installs out of the box. You do get some different utilities that are installed here. And the only thing that I added, I did put GNOME tweaks on, and I'll show you why. For example, if we launch the terminal here, let me see if I can make this a little bit larger, and we type in neofetch just to get a general idea of what this system is. And again, I'm running this on a virtual computer, so you see VirtualBox. But you can see that when you go up here, by default in GNOME, there's no minimize button. And when I was trying to plan this video, I thought I would really like a minimize button. So I did go in and I added the GNOME tweaks so that you could go into the GNOME tweaks and you can go to your window titles bar, and it's just a flip of a switch and you can turn them on, and now you can see that I minimize it. And if I go back to the bar, it shows the terminal is running, but it has been minimized here. And this applies to all of your different applications that are running. If we go in and we look for system information, similar to what I had showed you on the GNOME environment within Ubuntu, you can see that it comes up and it tells you that this is Fedora. The hardware that it's running is VirtualBox. I've only given it 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is probably why it's a little slow. It does recognize my Intel Core. However, it does not recognize the NVIDIA graphics card. It also tells you the size that I gave the virtual hard drive. It tells you that it's running GNOME 42.4, which is exactly what we saw in the Ubuntu case. However, this system by default is running Wayland. Now, when this goes to sleep on my computer, I guess because it's in a virtual computer, it does behave well. but Wayland on my Ubuntu system, and I think it's unique to my system, did not run well. Software updates you can go through. It'll tell you that there's a series of different things. You can also change between a light and a dark theme. The dark theme is pretty cool. I left it with the light theme because that's what it installs, and I wanted to show you the most plain vanilla form of GNOME 42. But I think that the dark theme is really pretty cool. If we bring up the file program, you can see that it also has that dark element to it, and it does look very, very smooth. Typical, you can go in and change what you want notifications from. These are all the defaults, your alarms, your disk usage, everything. And it gives you different search capabilities, multitasking if you want to activate the hot pointers, the various applications that it has installed and all of their properties you can look for through this. Your online accounts it remembers, your sharing, and any type of sound that you're using for system volume or whatever, power saving modes. This is all pretty typical stuff, and again, we can come back to the About box that shows us what we were facing as far as system resources. In the upper right hand corner, you have your volume buttons that tell you set for a shortcut. You can go directly into settings. You can log off of this to shut down the computer. Your network icon will also tell you what network you're attached to. And it's a pretty basic install, but all in all, it is very clean. It is very fast. I actually had attempted to install this as my daily driver following my last system crash. And I had a few separate issues with different things that I wanted to do. And if you go to install NVIDIA drivers in this, it is driven from the terminal rather than from the graphic interface that I was used to in Ubuntu. It made it slightly more difficult, but not impossible. But it is very, very smooth. And Fedora is in fact a product that is open source from Red Hat Linux. Red Hat Linux is an enterprise version that runs mostly on servers. Many Fortune 500 companies run Red Hat Linux in the background of their companies. Fedora is an open source end user workstation version of that environment. And it does give you the most plain vanilla GNOME installation out of the box that's available out there right now. I still think that I'm going to keep my Ubuntu system as my daily driver. I like Linux. I work in Linux on a daily basis, but I think that this is a little bit easier to install. It's still running the same GNOME environment with a few customizations that Ubuntu puts on it. And I like the idea of having the icon bar present at all times, that for my favorites, I don't have to sit and hold the Windows key to bring up my favorites bar. So these are just a couple little things. If this video was found informative, or if you liked it, please click the like button. This helps me with YouTube. Hit the subscribe button if you really like my videos, and we'll see you around. Thanks again for stopping by.